This is the Toyota GR Yaris, and it's a car I've been looking forward to driving all year, and I'm so excited that finally I'm able to get behind the wheel of one. And why is that, you may ask? Is this not just a souped up Toyota Yaris? Well, technically yes, but it's actually a homologation special built specifically to go rallying. You see, homologation specials were commonplace in the 1980s and mid-1990s during the Group B and Group A era because manufacturers wanted to get a leg up on their competition and so built limited edition road cars that would give them an advantage on the rally stage. The homologation special isn't really done anymore because, well, they used to be extremely expensive and people sort of fell out of love with rallying in the mid-2000s. But after a regulation change in 2017 where the cars are faster than ever, people have fallen back in love with the WRC, including manufacturers. So Toyota built the GR Yaris to give it an advantage against the likes of the Hyundai i20 and Ford Fiesta in the WRC. And today I'm going to tell you exactly what's changed over a regular Yaris and whether it's any good to drive. But before I get into the review, remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for plenty more awesome reviews just like this one. The first thing you notice when you see a GR Yaris is the roof line, and it slopes down at a much sharper angle than it does on a regular Yaris. And there's a reason behind that. So the company realized that if you're able to lower the back part of the roof, if you've got a massive wing on the back, which you would need for rallying, you can channel more air into it and generate more downforce. The other things that really stand out as well are the wider wheel arches, which give it a much more muscular look. And the front is much more aggressive. The regular Yaris has more of a happy face. This one looks extremely angry. At 1,280 kilograms, the GR Yaris isn't the lightest thing in the world, and that's primarily because it's got a four-wheel drive system. But Toyota insists that this isn't going up against the likes of the lighter Ford Fiesta ST or Hyundai i20N. It's more a rival for the Megane RS and Honda Civic Type R, which I've yet to figure out. I think we need to drive it first to see if that's true. To keep weight down, the company has installed a carbon fibre reinforced plastic roof, which is apparently so strong that their rally drivers were jumping up and down on top of it, and would you know, it didn't break. The rally car has a 4-cylinder engine, but the GR Yaris has a 1.6 litre 3-cylinder motor. Now, for homologation purposes, it doesn't need to be the same as the WRC car, although this engine will feature in the company's R5 rally car, which is the step below the top-tier WRC cars. It produces 257 bhp and 360 Nm of torque, all of which, of course, is sent to all four wheels through a 6-speed manual gearbox. 0 to 62 takes 5.5 seconds, and it'll go all the way on to 143 miles per hour. Now, if you go out and buy a GR Yaris today, there'll be 3 different versions to choose from. And while they all look pretty much the same on the surface, there are some subtle differences. So the car starts at just under £30,000. And for that, you get luxuries such as an infotainment screen that connects up to Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. The next model up from that is called the Convenience Pack, and it's just over £32,000. And what you get with that is things like a head-up display, parking sensors, and you also get a suite of driver assistance. But the one everyone's going to go for is the Circuit Pack at around £33,500. And the differences are there. You get the 10-spoke 18-inch BBS wheels, red brake calipers. You also get slightly reworked suspension and dual Torsen limited slip differentials. What's weird though is that you don't get parking sensors like you do on the Comfort Pack, which is really strange. It's quite a plain design, but at least it's got practicality. I've got a pair of decent cup holders down here and a small tray behind that. You've also got 2 trays on top of the dashboard. This one in the center has got a slightly grippy surface while the other one doesn't. So I have my phone stored on there. And as soon as I unleashed the full 257 brake horsepower, it flew straight off and would have taken out the passenger. I've also got a USB connection here in the center console, and there's also a small dial down here where I can adjust the driving modes. And so this, while it doesn't open up the exhaust or make the car go any faster, what it will do is change the distribution of the power. So if I've got it in normal mode, it'll send 60% of the power to the front wheels and 40 to the rear. Put it in sport, and then you've got 70 at the rear and 30 at the front. And in track, it goes to 50-50 for the full rally car effect. The infotainment system is pretty simple to use. It's not the most exciting thing to look at, but let's face it, the first thing you're probably going to do when you get in is plug in your iPhone or your Android phone and use Apple CarPlay or Android Auto respectively. The only thing that does surprise me a bit though is that you've got these physical button shortcuts which are all really handy, but there's one for map, but there isn't a sat-nav system in here, so it's completely useless. Come on Toyota, this is a top spec model, I'd at least like it to have a sat-nav system. What's wonderfully old school is we don't have a digital instrument cluster. Instead, we've got good old-fashioned analog dials, and they're nice and easy to read, if a little boring to look at. There's also a 4.2-inch screen in the center that will give you a more accurate readout on your speed and give you other bits of information like your MPG. What I love about Rally Specials as well is they always come with a little plaque, and that's no different here. You've got a little GR plaque in the center console, which just tops it all off perfectly. Things are a little cramped in the back, and that shouldn't really come as a surprise, bearing in mind how low the roofline is. I'm 180 centimeters and my head is sitting on the roof, so I would have to duck down a little bit, which is a little bit of a challenge as well, because with the seat in my driving position, I've not really got much leg room. So if you're a short person or you're a child, you're probably going to fit in the back here quite well. But if you're over 6 foot, it's going to be a complete squeeze. And I think Toyota knew that people weren't really going to be back here because there's not a lot going on. I've not got an armrest, there's no cup holders next to me. It's essentially 3 chairs. At 174 litres, the GR Yaris's boot isn't exactly what you'd call massive. However, there's a reason behind that. First of all, remember the GR Yaris is 4-wheel drive, so there's a lot more going on back here than what you would have in a regular Yaris, which is front-wheel drive. Then there's the roofline, which is much lower to give it a more aerodynamic profile, but that cuts into boot space. And finally, there's the position of the battery. It's not located at the front like you would do on most hatchbacks. It's actually in the rear. So if you lift up the boot floor, there's no spare wheel, there's no extra places to store stuff, just the car's battery. And that improves weight distribution. It's a very serious car, this GR Yaris. I'm not sure if you could tell just how excited I am about driving the GR Yaris. You see, I grew up absolutely adoring cars like the Lancia Delta S4 and the Delta Integrale Evo. Although they were way before my time, I just thought they were so cool that companies would spend money on building cars designed to go fast and win rallies. What I love about the GR Yaris, or the idea of it, is that it's the return of the homologation special, that rallying is finally back at its best. So is the GR Yaris just a hot hatch with a 4-wheel drive system? No, it feels really like its own thing. There's a certain immediacy about everything you do that you don't really get in a hot hatch or a super hatch like an i30N or a Civic Type R. The wheelbase feels small, it feels like it's 4-wheel drive, it's just always wanting to bite. Let's talk about this engine then. Oh, I know rally cars don't have 3-cylinder engines, but this sounds so rally. It's just cheeping and whirring all the time. It really sounds like a Group B car. This 3-cylinder engine, while it can sound a little bit rattly at first, is just so punchy. You put your foot down and it just wants to rip your face off. But what's quite remarkable about it is that the torque arrives really early on in the rev range. So you're actually finding yourself not really stretching up to the red line. You can rev it out, but you will be doing way above the speed limit if you are doing that. The gearing is pretty short as well, adding to that immediacy of everything. And the actual gear action is wonderful. It's a 6-speed box, and it just has this nice mechanical feel to it. The suspension itself, it doesn't feel firm. I was expecting it to be a little crashy. This is a performance car through and through, but It's been tuned in a way that doesn't make it feel like it's been built for circuit driving. It feels like a rally car for the road. The steering is really nicely weighted as well. There's a slight lightness in the center, but it has a nice weight to it once you wind on a bit more lock. So it feels like you're driving something quite substantial when tossing it through a set of corners, but it's light enough to have that feeling of being a rally car. The steering reflects agility rather than just outright lap time performance. And that, I would say, makes it more fun on the road than just a regular hot hatch. But of course, you can actually change the characteristics of the car. So as I mentioned earlier, there are 3 different modes for the drivetrain. The first one will send 60% of the power to the front. Second one, sport mode, will send 70 to the rear, and then track does 50-50. At the moment, we are in normal mode, and I would say the biggest difference you can tell is going between normal and track. Having that 50-50 distribution definitely makes it feel very tight, and when you're pulling out of a corner, it just launches off into the distance. I would say having something like sport would actually be more fun on a circuit. Hopefully one day we'll be able to put the GR Yaris to the test around our new test track. But for now though, I would say if you're really going to be wanting to churn up some B roads, go and whack it in track, get that 50-50 distribution, just fling out of every corner. You'll smoke pretty much anything out there. I love this. It's putting a very big smile on my face. And what I really love about it as well is that it moves the hot hatch into a new generation of, instead of being more powerful and faster and chucking as much as you can through the front wheels, it's about accessibility. And I don't mean that as in it's easy to drive. I just mean that you can exploit it more. It's something that feels like it's been tailor-made for a British road. Would I go out and buy one? I certainly find it far more tempting than pretty much any other hot hatch on the market today. It really does feel like a very special car. And bear in mind that it's going to be a limited edition. They're only making a few thousand of these. So jump on it, because once they're gone, they're gone. They're not going to be making any more. Such exploitable, accessible performance. It's just very, very, very good. It's really special.